Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. We are officially halfway through 2025. That means it's time to talk about the books that we read in the first half of the year. We've got a lot of fun questions prepared, so let's jump into it. Okay, I'm so excited to do this tag. I saw it on Sarah Caroli's channel. I'm sure a lot of you guys watch her. She's like a big booktuber, but I was like, this is so OG YouTube coded. I used to watch all these YouTube videos like back in, I don't know, 2015, 2014, when they would do like beauty tags and, you know, summer tags and things like that. So this just feels like that. I'm very excited to get into it. I have a whole list of questions. I'll put them all in the description box below. But before we jump into that, I want to talk about my first half of the year stats. So my goal for 2025 was to read 60 books. I don't really know how I came up with that number. My goal was to read 50 last year and I only read 48. So I don't really know why I thought that I could up it to 60, but let's just say we're a little bit behind on that goal. So currently I have read 18 books in the first half of the year, which means I am 12 behind schedule. So we've had a little bit of a slow first half of the year. I feel like things are picking up. I'm hopeful, but according to my calculations, I'm gonna have to read 8 books a month in order to get to my goal at the end of the year, which is a little bit far-fetched, but I'm gonna up my audiobook game. That's kind of my strategy going into the second half of the year so that I can like power through some of these books quickly. But I am in the middle of 3 books right now. So hopefully I can meet that goal. But after looking at it, my highest reading month was in March with 5 books. So that's not gonna cut it. So catch me reading 8 to 10 books a month for the rest of the year. So let's start off with question number 1, the best book that I've read so far this year. I technically have 2 answers for this. My true answer in my heart is Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. I absolutely love this book, but we're gonna talk about this in a little bit. So let me get to my other favorite book, my favorite standalone book of the year. And this came as a big surprise. It's Funny Story by Emily Henry. This is only the second Emily Henry book I've ever read. I read Happy Place, which I didn't really love by her. I gave it a 3, but Funny Story was just everything I love in a romance book. It had a really cute, funny, quirky male main character. It was set in a little small town in Michigan. Summery, idyllic, really fun, banter, funny, a little bit spicy but not crazy. Basically, this is about a girl named Daphne who's a librarian and she ends up rooming with this guy named Miles. And it's kind of complicated. Basically, Daphne got divorced because her ex-husband started dating Miles's girlfriend, ex-girlfriend. So they're like the exes of the exes and they live together now. It's complicated. It's really good. It's fast-paced. It's funny. It's cute. It's sad. It's everything you could ever need in a book. I absolutely loved it. And it's just so cute. So highly recommend. Definitely a 5-star for me. Okay, now we can talk about Onyx Storm because the second question is the best sequel that you read all year. This is the 3rd book in the Fourth Wing series, the Empyrean series. I'm sure you guys know that already. I feel like this book got mixed reviews. If you want to see my entire thoughts about it, I actually have 2 videos. One is my Onyx Storm reading vlog that's up on this channel. And then if you don't know, I have a podcast with my best friend Mariana called The Last Page Podcast. And we have a 2-hour-long deep dive episode into this where we talk through the whole book. We talk theories, opinions, it gets controversial. We get into a big argument about it. So that's definitely a video that you want to watch. I'm going to tag that below. But I just loved this one so much. I cried, I laughed, I was on the edge of my seat. I've never had a book hangover like I did with this one. So highly recommend starting this series. If you don't know, it's a fantasy series about dragons. It is very spicy and it's very good. Zayden is also my Shayla and my boyfriend and I love him so much. So highly, highly recommend this one as well. Okay, number 3 is a new release from the first half of the year that I have not read yet, and that would be A Great Big Beautiful Life, also by Emily Henry. I am open to Emily now. I didn't think that I was gonna love her at first. You know, I haven't read any more of her books, but that is on my TBR actually for July. But I've heard that A Great Big Beautiful Life is very similar to The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. It's like someone who's doing an interview about somebody. And so it's like a 2-part sort of like one person's life and the other person's life situation. I don't really know entirely what it's about, but that one was really popular when it came out. I've heard mixed reviews about it, but I'm hopeful going into it. So I think I'm going to start that hopefully soon. The next question is about anticipated releases for the second half of the year. And I actually don't have any. So if you guys know any books that are coming out in the second half of the year that we anticipate to be really good, please let me know in the comments. I kind of tried to look it up. I didn't see a ton. I feel like most books come out in the first half of the year. I don't know if that's crazy, but I haven't seen a ton that have been announced that I am interested in or are from authors that I like or are sequels to books that I've read. So I honestly have no idea. The only thing I'm hoping that we're gonna get is an ACOTAR 6 announcement, but I don't think that's coming anytime soon. So we'll see. Next up is biggest surprise of the year. And for me, that was House in the Cerulean Sea. This book is so cute. It was another one of my 5-star reads for the year. I don't know what it was about this book. I just wasn't like eager to pick it up. All of my friends who have read this rave about it, but it's a very slow, cozy fantasy, which isn't always typically my favorite. It's about this guy who works for this corporation that takes care of magical children, and he goes around to different orphanages for magical children and like makes sure they're taken care of and like up to code and things like that. But then he gets sent to this house on an island to a magical orphanage with problem children. So there's like literally the son of Satan is there. There's like a little garden gnome and a wyvern and a shape-shifting Pomeranian and like all these quirky characters. They're so cute and adorable. I actually listened to this on audio, which I would highly recommend. The narrator did a really good job of doing all the kids' voices, which I thought was really cute. But this book was just so wholesome. I absolutely loved it. It was heart-wrenching. There was a little bit of romance. It was like kind of slow at times, but overall this just gives the perfect, cozy, heartwarming, like found family vibes. So if that's something that you like, I think you'd really like this, but I would honestly recommend this to a lot of different people just to get outside of your comfort zone because I ended up really loving it. I gave it a 5. I thought it was so cute. Next up is favorite author. This is someone that I read a lot this year. Some books I didn't like, but some I loved is Abby Jimenez. She's a very popular romance author. I actually finished reading her whole entire catalog this year because I was prepping for her new book, Say You'll Remember Me, which unfortunately I didn't love. And speaking of that, we actually have an entire deep dive episode on the Last Page podcast as well of all of Abby Jimenez's catalog. So we go through each book and then mostly talk about Say You'll Remember Me. This is one of my favorites of hers, The Friend Zone. It's the first in a little trio of 3 with The Friend Zone. My favorite book of hers actually is Yours Truly, but I read that last year. So far this year, this has been my favorite book of hers. Again, didn't love her new release, but this one I thought was really cute. She just does a really good job of writing romance books that deal with really intense, hard topics. This one talks a lot about infertility. Some other ones she's talked about are dementia and chronic illness, grief and loss. There's just a lot of like difficult topics that are written into her books, which feels very much like normal life because these characters are trying to navigate their romances among having these like tragic things happen, which is how life is. So it feels very realistic. This one's really cute. I feel like it's not talked about very much because it's one of her older ones, but I loved this one. And Abby is just one of my auto-buy authors. I will buy anything she puts out. Newest fictional crush from this year is Mr. Garrett Graham from The Deal by Elle Kennedy. It took me so long to finally get to read this. I've had this on my TBR for so long. I don't know why it took me so long because this is a college hockey romance, which is literally right up my alley. I love a college hockey romance. I love a college romance in general. I think it's because I loved my college experience so much and I didn't really like date around. I had one boyfriend through like most of college, so I didn't really get the full college experience. And so this is like me living vicariously through these characters. But Garrett is an interesting one because he's a very cocky asshole in the beginning. He's like a true frat bro, sports bro. And it's like painful to read, honestly, almost, but he turns out to be such a big softie, as they all are. He rides for his girl. Basically, this is about Garrett, who is really popular, but he's doing really bad in one of his classes and he needs to pass the class in order to play hockey. And then the girl ends up tutoring him because she has a crush on this other football player. And he's like, oh, okay, well, we can like fake date and make him jealous. And I can kind of teach you like the ropes, you know, of being popular in the school. It's very cliche. It does deal with some hard topics as well. So you might want to look up trigger warnings for this, but honestly, overall, very spicy, very fun, very good, loved. Okay, so the next question is a book that made you cry. And I was thinking about it, and the only book that has made me cry this year, I think, is Onyx Storm, which is crazy, but I picked one that made me cry in my soul and in my heart and made me cry retroactively, okay? And that is The Song of Achilles. We do also have an entire podcast episode about this one as well. This was our June book club read for the month. I'm shocked I didn't cry about this because I almost cried probably 10 times recording that episode. This book, you guys, is so good. Another 5-star read for me. It's based on Greek mythology, so it talks about the story of Achilles, whom we all know. He's like a demigod, or I don't even know what they would call it. His like mom was a goddess. and his dad was a human. And then Patroclus, who ends up being his companion kind of throughout his life and throughout the Trojan War. And in this book, they end up being lovers, which is like part of the Greek myth of it all. People aren't confirmed, but they think that they're lovers. It's very tragic. I didn't know the ending because going into this, obviously like the ending, it's not a spoiler alert because it's been out for thousands of years, like what happened to them. I had no idea what was coming for me. It was so good. And some of the quotes in this, literally, it's like just true, pure, undying love. It feels very timeless. And that's why I like this, because even though it was like ancient Greece, the romance between these two makes you feel like it's present day. And they kind of get together when they're teenage boys and they're both like awkward and nervous, and it just feels very accurate to present day teenagers and like growing up and having crushes and stuff. So highly recommend this. It was also a little bit slow in the middle. I kind of struggled with it a little bit. I think I was just not fully in the right headspace to be reading this. I'm very much a mood reader, but since we were reading it for book club, I like had to get into it. But if you're looking for something to switch it up, something that's a little bit more of a tougher read, it's a little bit more intellectual. Oh, this book was so good. And it was so emotional. I'm surprised I didn't cry. I think there's something wrong with me, honestly. Next up is a book that made me happy. I have to come back to funny story on this one. This book had me giggling and kicking my feet. And I feel like I don't always do that with books, but you know that a romance book is good when you're actually like, ee! And like when I'm reading it, I'm going, ah, you know what I mean? So this one was good for that. It definitely made me happy. And I feel like I just haven't had that feeling a lot this year so far. So that's kind of what I'm going to be chasing in the second half of the year. I feel like I'm back into my romance era. Number 10, the most beautiful book that you got or purchased this year. And for me, that would be When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. This book, let's get closer here, shall we? This book is absolutely stunning. I love like all of this light on here and swirls and the way it looks, but then also the inside of the book is really pretty. Here's what the map looks like, but then even the beginning of the chapters, like look at this. Oh my God, that's stunning. I need some of you to comment and influence me to pick up this book because it's very long. It looks like it's like 700 pages, almost 700 pages. And I love fantasy, but I have a really hard time starting a new series because it's just hard for me to commit. And especially considering I'm supposed to be reading like 8 to 10 books a month for the rest of the year. I don't know that I'm gonna be like dying to pick this up. It's a very thick girl, but I've heard very good things about it. Can someone tell me if this is a romantasy or if it's more like high fantasy? Because I feel like I need a little bit of romance to get me going. But hopefully I'll pick this up this year. It does look more like a winter book though, so we'll see. Next question, books that you need to read by the end of the year. I am choosing the entire Boys of Tommen series. So let me show you which ones I have not read yet. I have currently only read the first two, which is Binding 13 and Keeping 13. I'm currently reading Saving 6, so I'm like about halfway through that one right now. And then we've got Redeeming 6, Taming 7, and Releasing 10. Releasing 10 is the newest release. This came out earlier this year. People have been raving about it, and I've had kind of a hard time getting through this one just because I've had other books that I've been reading, things have been tearing me away, and it's also like a pretty heavy, sad series. This is a series set in Ireland and it's a rugby romance. Not really so much as you get later into the books. Joey, the one who's the number 6 here, he's not really a rugby player, so that kind of doesn't count, but the other ones, they're rugby players. It's set in Ireland. It's really good. It's very, very character development heavy, so you really get a lot of dialogue. You get a lot of insight into the characters' lives. They, you know, some of them deal with abuse at home. Some of them deal with different like family issues and body issues and drugs and alcohol, and it's like very heavy topics. But because it's so character focused, it really makes you feel like you know them. So it's like it's a very, very, very good series. Would highly recommend, but it's heavy. So I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't recommend it if that's something that's gonna bother you. Definitely look into it. Look into trigger warnings. Question number 12 is how many 5-star reads have you read this year? I believe I have read 4. I'm gonna check on my Fable, which follow me on Fable, follow me on Goodreads. I track my reads on both of them. So let's see if we can see this. Here is my stats of what I've read this year so far. So Onyx Storm, House on the Cerulean Sea, Funny Story, and Song of Achilles were my 4 5-star reads this year. So not the best, but I've only read 18 books so far this year, so I feel like that's not terrible. There have been a lot of 4 stars though. Like if I had to give out 4s, The God of the Woods was a 4, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow might have been a 4. Wedding People might have been a 4. Pretty much all the Abby Jimenez books. I feel like a lot of them were 4 stars. So we've honestly had a pretty good reading year, but only a few 5 stars this year. So, okay, we've got 2 questions left. Next one is a book that you enjoyed with mixed reviews. And I have to go back to Onyx Storm with this one. I feel like most people enjoyed this book, but I did hear a lot of bad reviews on it as well. I will admit that I don't think that her writing in this entire series is the best. Like when I first started reading this book, I was like, oh, I kind of forgot that I don't really like her writing very much. It's very like almost elementary in a way, even though it's a fantasy series. It feels like the lingo doesn't match with the content of the book, if that makes sense. But I was hooked throughout this entire book. I thought it was definitely the best out of the 3, which I feel like is a hot take. And one of my favorite things about it is discussing online with people and kind of coming up with theories and talking about all of the stuff in here, because there's so many Easter eggs and so many theories. So I think this was a really fun group one to talk about, but it definitely didn't get the best reviews. I feel like I've heard mixed things about this one. So if you've read Onyx Storm, let me know what you thought of this and if you thought like where it falls for you in the 3. Because I feel like a lot of people like the first one the best, but I definitely like this one the best. Okay, number 15 is 5-star predictions for the rest of the year. I picked out one. It's The Ministry of Time. This is by Kalian Bradley. This is an ARC copy, so it looks a little bit different than the ones that they're selling now. I have had this ARC for many months now. I think I've had it since last year. Yeah, it came out May of 2024. So I don't know why this has been sitting on my shelf so long. It's basically like a time travel romance where a girl is in charge of rehabilitating people into present day from the past. So it's almost like, imagine someone coming out of jail who's been in there for 20 years and they have to learn how to, you know, live in present day society. This is the same thing, but it's with time travel. And so there's a girl who takes someone from like an old, I don't know, Civil War or something, and she has to like rehab him into the current present day. I have heard amazing things about this book. I have been feral over wanting to read it and have never picked it up for some reason. I don't know why I'm like that. Please tell me I'm not alone, but I think it sounds really good. I'm hoping it'll be a 5-star. Otherwise, I don't really know. I don't have anything crazy on my radar that's I think is going to be a 5-star for the year. So we'll see. Very excited to pick this one up. It doesn't seem too long, but it does feel like it might be a little bit dense. So we'll see how that goes. But like I said, I'm going to put all the questions in the description box below so you guys can answer them as well. Please answer them in the comments so that I can see everybody's results, because again, I know I've said it 5 times in this video, I need to read 8 books a month. So I need some book recs and book inspo of like a quick, fun, lighthearted, easy read that I can get to. And because of that, I'll probably be doing a lot more reading vlogs for the second half of the year. So make sure you follow me, subscribe to my channel, follow me on all the socials, listen to our podcast, all of the things. And thank you so much for watching. Very happy that you're here, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.